Full disclosure, the voice you are listening to now is artificially generated, brought to you by satisphonic.com. See the link in the description for more details. What's quietly disappeared in the past 20 years without many people noticing? As I've recently noticed, dumb TVs. Good luck trying to find a decent new TV that isn't smart. The cents symbol. I didn't even realize until now that everyone started using 69 cents as a default. Nikke. This seriously needs more upvotes. I literally didn't notice this at all until you pointed it out. Wow, this is a good one. Kids today may not even know what this looks like. Kids today have no sense. The ability to buy something without wanting your email, phone number, address, subscription, etc. Yes, went into Ulta to buy a Christmas gift for someone. Was told I had to give my phone number or the item could not be returned or exchanged. Even with a receipt. They lied to you, the receipt will get you a return. Yup, looked this up before, and apparently their hours get cut if they don't get enough email addresses, so they are forced to get creative with making people apply. Candy bars wrapped in foil and paper. Newspaper vending machines. I used to see them everywhere as a kid. Saw one the other day and realized I hadn't seen one in years. Kind of seems like a crazy concept now. You would put in 50 cents and it's on the honor system that you pull out just one newspaper. And as an American that lived overseas in the 90s, I was amazed how many times I heard about them. Like, I'd be talking to some other expats that had visited America, and they'd say, those newspaper vending machines are crazy.
Where I'm from, people would put in the 50 and take all the newspapers.
Which always seemed weird to me. I mean, taking two so you can give one to a friend? Sure. But what the hell are you going to do with 24 copies of the exact same newspaper? As a kid, I used to take all the free Monopoly pieces out of each one when the promotion was going on. I don't think I knew what the honor system was or realized that I was being a giant piece of shit. It's okay, the Monopoly games were rigged anyway. You were not depriving people out of any big prizes. People having their watches set to slightly different times. I remember being with friends and making sure we synchronized our watches when we had to meet back up at a specific time. I remember when it was acceptable to be a few minutes late since people's watches could be different. Me and my coworker would each set our watches a few minutes off, his early, mine late. So when we took break, we get more time. We'd stop work according to his, and start back according to his, and start back according to mine. I think the boss was onto it. Lol, smart. I had a boss whose rule was that if you're late, you need to bring donuts for the team. People quickly figured out the rule was the same whether you were 10 minutes late or 2 hours late. He just laughed and seemed to appreciate the malicious compliance. Seems like a decent boss, lol. Best boss I ever had was like a second father to me. He came under a lot of fire for being lax. What none of them seem to realize, though, is that when shit hit the fan, he had no issue getting us to work late or go above and beyond. He built so much trust with small stuff like that, and all others could see was the small costs of that trust building, and they just ignored the other stuff we did as a result. It's incredible what good leadership will do for morale. And having to know the secret button procedure to reset the clock on your car stereo twice a year? Don't you mean having the car stereo showing the wrong time for 6 months of the year because no one knew or could be bothered to change it? Mine is purposely set to 3 minutes too early. I know this and still works. I'm a fan of mechanical watches, so I'm still doing this. Home phones. It's funny how when you fill out forms these days, they still ask for your home phone number and then your cell phone number. I prepare tax returns. The default is still home option 2 is work, option Q is work, option 3 is cell. I have no idea how this isn't in the reverse order. I just enter my mobile number as option 1 and 3. Home phones are still very common in rural areas. Apparently 1/4 of households in America still have them, but I don't know a single person who has one in the city I live in. Besides myself, I get one for free through work. The hole in the ozone layer. I didn't expect much positivity in this thread, so this was nice. I think this needs to be talked about more when climate change comes up. As a kid in the 80s and 90s, I was bombarded with fears of the hole in the ozone. But we did things to mitigate it, and now it's not an issue. Imagine if that effort was applied to other things. To be fair, solving the ozone hole by banning cuffs is 1 billionth easier than getting off of the energy source that powers our entire global civilization. You can quit getting a facial scrub, but you can't quit eating. That being said, we're making progress, and it's led to Czech's notes 2023 being a record high year for emissions, which will be followed by 2024 breaking that record, and so on and so forth. Telephone booths, which, by coincidence, were also the way out of the matrix. So in Australia, all telephone booths are owned by the same telecommunications company. About 10 years ago, they made all calls for free from them, as the revenue they were bringing in were less than the revenue they were bringing in were less than the fine it took for technicians to go out and collect the coin. They now also operate as free Wi-Fi spots, providing you hand over your email and PI, which they would then onset. In the UK, some of them have been turned into free libraries or defibrillators. Now there's a new way out of the matrix, according to that last movie, but for the life of me I can't remember the way out, or the name of the way out, or the name of the movie. That's how big of an impact it had on me. Forums, message boards. The internet used to be riddled with them. Now it's all just Reddit, 4chan, and YouTube Instagram comment section. Boredom. People used to spend so much time with nothing to occupy their minds aside from their own thoughts, while standing in line, sitting in a waiting room, etc. Now, everyone reaches for their phone to fill every minute of downtime. I hate what owning a smartphone has done to me. When I was a child, I could sit in the car, no entertainment but the car radio, which my dad controlled, and the window, and be perfectly happy to like 30-60 minutes. No problem. If the radio wasn't to my liking, I'd just imagine Spider-Man fighting Batman, or what a vampire-werewolf hybrid would be like, or other fun kid stuff. Now, as an adult, I don't have nearly that degree of patience. Hard to go more than 10 minutes without checking my phone, and I know it's a problem, and I hate it, but at the same time, day-to-day life has become almost impossible without a smartphone. It's like trying to quit smoking if the whole world has become one big cigar lounge. I turn off my daughter's 16 phone for 4 hours on Sunday afternoons. At first she complains how she's so bored, but then I always later find her painting or drawing or learning a song on her guitar. When we camp with our kids, we deliberately pick a place without a signal, forces us to be bored too. Always ends up with us all being creative or explore. I think boredom may have increased. Because we can occupy our time, I think attention spans are getting shorter and people are getting bored trying to occupy their time. Everyone needs their quick dopamine hit and can't just sit patiently without getting antsy. In the past, our brains were more accustomed to just sitting quietly and waiting. We used to effectively get a daily dose of meditation trying to go about our lives. I write this out while sitting on the crapper because my brain can't even wait long enough for me to take a dump without demanding entertainment. I used to read the shampoo instructions and ingredients. Nothing changes. The compact 4-cylinder 2-seater, no-nonsense pickup truck. If you want a pickup now, it has to be a massive luxury tank that costs 80 grand. Add functionality of said $80 truck. They are too tall. Can't get shit out the bed from the side. Tool chest mounted. Gotta get in the bed to access it. Just to step on toe ball and jump over gate into the bed. Now they design bumpers and tailgates with steps Fs. Also, ground clearance hasn't improved since the 90s. So why so tall? Is it A? America's decline started when the phone 150 bed became too goddamn tall to put your elbows on and talk with your friend. And the new Ranger is now the same size as a phone 150 of 20 years ago, just without a usable bed length. My wife had 97 Ford Ranger, single cab, 5-sped, 4-cylinder, excellent when I met her. It hated gas. What a great little truck. Yes, I would love to buy a newer truck, but I just can't justify spending a year's income on a monster truck that won't fit in a parking space, but still can't fit a sheet of plywood. Just need a little guy I can actually use for building and farming. Edit to address common points. I already own a Tacoma. It's 20 years old and new ones are enormous. Get worse gas mileage and the bed is actually smaller. Key trucks aren't road legal where I live, which sucks because I would absolutely get one. Vans will not work for me. I can't put 5 sheep in the back and just hose it out when I'm done. I can't load it with a literal ton of hay or gravel. I'm not a man. Privacy. You gotta approach every public interaction these days with the possibility that it will be filmed and put on Twitter. I had a woman ask for my help with an item at work, spent about 10 minutes assisting her. When I was done, she revealed that she had propped her phone up nearby, and I had spent the last 10 minutes being featured on her Instagram live. I nearly threw up Edit to address something I've been seeing in a lot of replies. The woman in question was a customer, not a co-worker. Influencer culture is the fucking worst. I'm currently working security at a popular nightclub in my city, and the number of times I've caught dipshit 22-year-olds catching me on their live feeds while they use whatever Riz or Gaiat is infuriating. I have no control over some drunk chick filming me either. I've started wearing a black hat as low as possible so they can't see my face. If I have to physically remove a drug dealer, I am almost guaranteed to be recorded. Then they will be like, oh, this dude thinks he's a badass, frailing coke and smoke weed every day, fuck security. It's ridiculous. They don't even talk to each other. They just stare at their phones apart from the odd moments they take shots, which is of course live stream. Nor do they care that I got stabbed or protected them from getting shot by some fuckhead. They think it's funny when I have to fight to get rowdy people out of the club. I got my goddamn hand broken and some 100-year-old dude with a broccoli head haircut is like, you check this, and I turned around and had a phone in my face. I feel like Clint Eastwood in Gran Torino, wanting to tell them to get off my lawn. I'm only 34. The only reason I'm doing this is because I got laid off in September. I'm actually a degreed chemical and petroleum engineer, and the fact people get fired blacklisted because of shit they see on social media makes me terrified that I'll get tagged during an interview. The fact that she could think that is okay is so disturbing. Did you say anything to her? Don't know about your work rules, but that would be completely against policy at my job. This is for me, as I am in my mid-30s, a sadist part. In my youth, we did terrible stupid things, and only the people who saw it could tell about it. Everyone else has to believe them. Some stories were so absurd and plain and stupid, nobody would believe it anyway. Do something stupid today, the humanity will never forget about it. I'm just eternally grateful that I didn't have Facebook to post all my immature teenage edgelord ramblings for the world to see. Variety, everything is becoming the same 10 mega corporations, just waiting for Ford, Meta and Pepsi to merge. At Fetsy, we already know everything about you. Welcome to Costco. I love you. You mean AOL time, Warner, PepsiCo, Viacom, Halliburton, Skynet, Toyota, Trader Joe's. Quality written news articles by people with post-secondary education. Toy stores. Kids growing up nowadays don't know what it's like to go to a toy store. They have to settle with the toy aisle at Target or Walmart. Quality of things like furniture, clothing, cookware, appliances, etc. Growing up, all of those things were kept, passed along, lasted, worth getting fixed. Now nothing is made to be long-lasting. It's cheaper now to throw out a TV than it is to get one fixed. Everything seems more disposable now, especially lately with social media bombarding people with products they don't actually endorse or know if they work. Things don't last to be able to pass on to another generation. It's sad that heirlooms like that aren't as common anymore. Ringtones. It's all on silent vibrate now. I don't know what the word would be, but 20 years ago, we had 1 hour of news a night. Maybe a newspaper. Now with social media and cable and all the rest, we are smothered with news and opinions and worldly commentary. It's impossible to not feel disoriented. Edit. You all are right, it's been longer than 20 years. But I'm old enough now that I can say 20 years ago and can mean the 1980s because time keeps on slipping. Perhaps it's just the explosion of social media. 20 years ago is around the time FB launched iOS. That changed cable news from I'm watching Conabit to seeing articles and opinions shared rapidly fire style all day. Happy New Year. What year? Is it 2012? While at the same time, the amount of quality news has diminished. The amount of product in their respective packages. Package is roughly the same size, but the actual amount of product. Shrinkflation. Appliance that don't have an internal computer for Wi-Fi. My last clothes dryer had a button and a motor. My new one, much more complicated. Still don't know why my fridge has Wi-Fi and wants me to download an app for it. All I'm saying it, back in the day, an informed homeowner would be able to fix nearly anything they owned with a screwdriver and a couple of other tools. Now you'll need a couple of other tools. Now you'll need a kiwi lime specialist to come out and fix anything that breaks in your house. Cassette tape along the side of the road, black strands glistening in the sun, draped around a roadside shrub like Christmas tinsel. Edit. Since everybody is feeling nostalgic now, I'll share that my son was a mixed tape for Halloween a couple years ago. We even made him a giant pencil, but none of the kids understood why. The parents over 40 knew. My daughter was a pager. None of the kids knew what she was. Bookstores. They used to be awesome and everywhere. Spontaneity. Everything needs to be pre-booked and prepaid before doing it. 25 years ago, our honeymoon in Europe was a reservation for our first hotel and a reservation for our last hotel. Everything in between was spontaneous. We never worried about finding a hotel. Now, planning a Europe trip, I have to book months in advance. Malls are slowly dying in America. I was actually quite happy to see how busy the mall I visited this weekend was. The local mall by my house is about 80% deserted now. The only thing keeping it going is the bowling alley on the same site. You know what is weird? It's this way for most malls that got overbuilt during the 90s. But well-located malls built in the 80s or earlier in prime locations are doing better than ever. Again, this is not to say you're wrong, but it's only really happening to excess malls that got made obsolete by online commerce. My mid-sized southern city has one centrally located mall. It still does very well. Stores close, but it's usually only when the whole chain goes bust. It's very busy at almost all time. The malls in the South Bay area have started to transition from box stores to food destinations with restaurants, food courts, etc. This, and third places in general. Wish my third place didn't involve me spending money. Ownership. Yes, everything is subscriptions and leases now. Wish my third place didn't involve me spending money. Car colors that aren't shades of white, grey or black. Every car I've had so far has been orange. I'm looking for my next one, but my options are getting more limited. It makes my car easy to find. My suitcases are also orange for the same reason. Why have boring stuff when I can have colorful stuff? Yes, why are we becoming duller and duller in our car color tastes? And here I hardly ever see an actual black car. Gunmetal grey, silver, light grey, deathtrap grey, a most same color as the bitumen, all variants of silver, grey, and white. It is exciting to see a blue or maroon car now. Access to information without being bombarded by ads. Disposable cameras. Hey, now I just saw one at Walgreens for the low price of $36. Color. Minimalism has been increasingly popular and more businesses and homes are becoming grey-beige. I miss when tacky colors were popular. My childhood home had green carpets. 3. I feel like the social contract is dying in a large way. It's depressing seeing people act so callous, rude and indifferent all the time. Bugs splattering on the windshield on the freeway due to decreasing populations. Yay, where have all the fireflies gone? They used to splat on your windshield at night, and you would all this glowing goo on your windshield. People acting like fallen leaves are a travesty is partly why they are gone. Females lay their eggs amidst leaves, and then they hatch and spend months or even years hanging out until they emerge. People mulching their leaves or raking them all up is disturbing that life cycle. I leave my yard kinda wild year-round, and I've noticed an increase in lightning bugs as a result. I didn't know that. I learn something new on Reddit every day. There's a huge push in the gardening world to avoid removing all your leaves, dead logs and dead flowers from the yard to help our insects. Quizners. People acting like fallen leaves are a travesty is partly why they are gone. Females lay their eggs amidst leaves, and then they hatch and spend months or even years hanging out until they emerge. People mulching their leaves, or raking their leaves, or raking them all up is disturbing that life cycle. I leave my yard kinda wild year-round, and I've noticed an increase in lightning bugs as a result. People asking us in chat rooms